I just want you to know what kind of environment we have right now in City Hall and what needs to get fixed. That aldermen should not be under the threat of the administration monitoring their emails, giving them false information.
All right, fellas, let's stop laughing here because this is a serious topic. Welcome back to Talking Racine, and this is a very serious subject this morning, so put on your sober face, George Myers.
Yeah, I'm
serious. You're close. You're close. Yeah. Jim, how you doing?
Good. I'm serious all the time.
Yeah,
Mr. Jim Spodek,
Very
a man of
serious.
seriousness.
That's right.
And Dr. Ken Jorgen, your host, who has no clue to what he's doing here. Well, actually, what we're doing is we're going to kind of wrap up this Machinery Row thing, but what we're actually talking about is the secret court that is going on that's got Sandy Widener, alderman for the city of Racine, so deeply entangled in it.
It's more, Machinery Row is more one of the items that is being suppressed with this court thing.
Yeah, the Machinery Row is kind of the backstory to all of this secret court stuff.
Yeah, and that's why we did the 3 parts. So you get the foundation and then kind of go on through. And who are all the players, which are still intact in some of the positions in the city?
Yeah, so let's do a little recap.
Good.
Part 1 goes back to Route 2008 and Route Works 2012.
That's the original big scheme to redo Root River.
Yes, this grandiose idea of making the area of the city that's down by the river into this beautiful new development. And then we went to Part 2, which was last week, and that was Rodney Blackwell and his involvement in the Machinery Row project, which we pretty much labeled as a straw man role. Well, not pretty much. We definitely labeled it as a straw man.
Yeah.
And I think there's certainly enough proof of that.
Needed something in there to keep the gears
keep the glue
going,
together.
keep it moving. Yeah. It's called your straw man. He really doesn't have any other job than that. Just keep the project going.
Right.
Make it look like I'm the one that's doing it.
In the middle of this,
he's kind of like me. He was just a pretty face in front of the project. You guys do all the work. I sit here and I talk to the people out there.
But it was where he borrowed when he couldn't get the financing, he borrowed the $4.5 million from the city, set up a slush fund. Of course, he had tenants that were operating as businesses there, were then not relocated, but they were
kicked out.
Yeah. So now we're at the point now where the slush fund has just been created. Now it's intact and nobody really understands it. We brought those emails in from Sandy Widener in the last episode where she said, why are we loaning more money than the property's worth? Of course, she didn't get the answers, and of course she just had to kind of pushed along, unaware of what was really happening behind the scenes.
All right, so we're at the slush fund just been established.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, now we're into.
Now we'll move forward.
Okay, I got it straight where we're sitting now.
$450,000, and by early 2016, it's down to $22,000.
Whoa!
And that's when city officials realized that the real estate taxes have gone unpaid, and liens and judgments were being attached to the real estate.
A lien was attached to the real estate? How did a lien
Now,
get
what
attached
happened
to
was
vacant property?
they went in there and Blackwell. Now, you have to remember, Blackwell is technically the owner of the property. I mean, in
still in his name.
It's in his name. So even though he may not be active, because when we pulled up a timeline from the Racine Journal-Times, and we had to kind of laugh because this timeline is certainly a lot different than our timeline. It talks about the delays and the poor project, the people that got in the way of Rodney Blackwell. And
those dirty tenants,
Tenants,
this thing would have been beautiful if it hadn't been for those people who were down there
so
beforehand.
This was the story that was fed to the public, really. Yeah. And, behind the scenes, there was the slush fund, and there was some money spent. The taxes were not paid, but there was some demolition done on the property for roughly about $200,000. He was not paid, and he then goes and files a lien saying, hey, I want my money. So Machinery Row had this, or project
and
had a lien.
The original thing couldn't cover that $200,000.
Wasn't enough money left in the account.
Yeah, no, it's encumbered
because
property.
You have to remember, at closing, or within a relatively short period of time, out of that $450,000, Rodney Blackwell and Bowman took roughly $125,000 out of it. So that that brought that
takes it down to
that
3,
down. And then of
320.
course there were some, there was some activity on the property. But if you remember, there was all this talk about, it's going to start now, and Corey Mason's, we're not giving up on the project. I mean, there's multiple articles that talks about how this has, been delayed because of Miracle Products left some stuff.
I think it
on
was portrayed as being so successful that there was no way they could stop it.
Right.
It was like
Right.
a runaway train of success.
And behind the scenes, the way they thought, and this is a speculation, but I'm pretty sure it's what it was, we're going to find somebody that's going to walk in here and just love this project, and they're going to finance it because Rodney Blackwell can't get the money. You remember, at the time of closing, he had lawsuits, and he was in some problems in Iowa and Illinois, and he wasn't going to get a loan. But
he was already well out of it.
See, that stuff happens, Jim. When you're a big shot developer, that kind of stuff.
And that's what was said.
That's when he became the straw man. When he was out of it, but we needed you to stay there looking like you're still buying it, because otherwise we can't continue with our charade.
Right. So anyway, so it goes on. Now they're down to 22,000. Now they go to the DNR and look for money.
Oh, thank God for the DNR, because the DNR has got a program where they are willing to purchase, or they're willing to supply the money to purchase half the property, half of the acreage that is needed for a peripheral development to the project, which we're going to call a promenade.
Well, it's a
walkway.
Now, overall, that's my understanding. See if I get this right. Is that the DNR has a program that if you're doing something that's good for the environment, they will pay half of it as long as they'll do is basically a matching fund thing.
Matching grant.
Somebody else does something, puts up some money, and they will match it.
What they're doing is they're donating the money to buy half the land for the project if somebody else donates the other half of the land that's necessary for the project.
Right, but it has to be something that affects the environment. And
50-50.
And in this case, it was a beautiful promenade.
Right. The only problem was that promenade was on Machinery Row. So now you have to remember, the taxpayers borrowed the $4.5 million to purchase this 20-acre site in Machinery Row. Now Blackwell is going to donate 5 acres out of this 20 acres back to the city so they can apply for a grant with the DNR so they can collect $470,000. They had this 5 acres appraised at $940,000.
5 acres that he owns, but he's never paid a dime for.
Correct.
But he has title to it. He is the legal owner. I'm not going to say legitimate. He is the legal owner of it. He's put it in a deed in lieu of foreclosure, but that hasn't been enacted. So the city can grab it anytime they want, but they are not doing it for obvious reasons because the city is the purchaser.
Correct.
So they can't enact it yet because they couldn't purchase it from themselves. So they have to leave it with the straw man Blackwell to sell it.
But see how clever it is, though.
Anthony Blackwell is the seller.
Right.
He owns it purposely. The city is not the owner yet because they can't. They don't want to enact on it because then they can't buy it.
Correct.
Right.
Because
And
they
you have
can't
to
buy it
remember,
from themselves, so
there's a
they're buying
scam
it
in the
from
middle
Rodney
of this.
Blackwell.
If they ever take it back, it becomes a city project, which means they would have to relocate those tenants. This was all set up to not relocate the tenants. You had a Zarian Marina, you had Olson, you had Zarian, you had some tenants down there. It would have cost probably multi-million dollars. Now we're technically the taxpayers buying their own property back.
But the money that we're buying it with is money that the DNR is providing us.
So the DNR is actually putting in $470,000 cash money.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, and Rodney Blackwell is putting in $470,000 in property.
Worth of property.
Correct.
All right.
That he never paid a dime for.
Yeah, and the DNR goes along with this.
Yeah.
And now the $470,000 is owned by the city.
Correct.
All right, which is theoretically would be used to build the promenade.
Right.
But where does it go?
It goes into a restricted escrow account. It's written into the developer's agreement, and it says that Rodney Blackwell can have nothing to do with the money. They are literally going to take that money, and it's written in there to pay taxes and to pay interest on the loan and to pay the lien on the property from the
Now, this is another point of confusion for me. You'll notice how you said this time Rodney Blackwell hadn't anything to do with it. The point being, in that first $450,000, Rodney Blackwell wrote the checks. Now there was a little bit of oversight there, but he was still, he was writing it for things like paying off a partner and getting his escrow money and his option money back. And so he was doing some things with it that weren't exactly right, but he was writing the check. So this time they learned about the $450,000. So this time it's basically the same process, except this time Rodney Blackwell is a straw man.
He doesn't get the checkbook.
Right, he don't get the checkbook.
Yeah, he is.
Because we got a problem here because boy, we needed that money. Now, did they defraud the DNR?
Of the
that went to the city.
He granted half.
He granted it to the city. The DNR said, "Well, now that you've been granted that money, we'll match the grant, half, 50% of it, at $470,000." They took the money, went and paid taxes, liens, and interest on the loan. They wiped. Rodney now is completely out. Now he's not even a fake straw man. It's absolutely ran by the city administration now.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on now.
One level of government.
Now
pulling a scam on another level of government.
In December, now we go in September 6th, the same time this was granted. This is where, and I got a clip here from Sandy Widener.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, this is where you talk about
Sandy Widener.
Right. Why is Sandy Widener's emails being sequestered?
Because that's what we're getting back to eventually. Yeah,
we're back to emails now. This is not all about Machinery Row. This is the sealing of Sandy.
It's kind of like we're in the washing machine right now. Eventually, the laundry is going to be out on the line, hanging there for you to see.
So I'm going to play this. I'll play this video, and then we'll come back to it.
A little over a year ago, the then alderman of the 15th district raised some concerns about his inability to get information from the administration. There is a lot of things that happen behind closed doors with this development, and I think that the council needs to be aware of those. Mr. Blackwell borrowed money from the city of Racine, cut a different deal with the sellers of the property, set up an escrow account for him to draw money out of over the last year and a half. I had no idea that I should even have asked the question of the administration if something like this would have happened. When this came to light, this is where, the city administrator kept saying to us, the council, well, he's paying his interest payments. He paid his interest payments with money that he took from the sellers that he renegotiated after we loaned him the $4.5 million. So in essence, we are paying that because we loaned him that money.
Anywhere close to where Mayor Dickert resigned?
We're getting there. Now,
not quite there yet?
You saw Sandy basically bust him out as to, she found out that the payments were being made out of the slush fund, the interest payments, that Blackwell was really not the buyer, and that there was a kickback. So now, very uncomfortable within the city of Racine. Now,
not only that, but a few emails are floating around with that.
Floating around right now. Now, all of a sudden, this thing started to get some legs under it, and now people are starting to ask some questions, including us.
Are you saying you got a hold of some of that stuff?
We all got a hold of some of that stuff. I mean, it was pretty obvious what was happening. Once that came out, there was always something fishy about, you can never start a $65 million project, and they're worried about some guy on a third floor with some, left some junk behind. They can't stop because, and this is where.
But you're talking about the Journal Times timeline.
Well, yeah. When you read this, it was always fishy. Like it's a $65 million project, and this guy putting Beanie Babies up here is stopping your project.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it was always.
They didn't mention the baseball league there, did they?
No, but
like here, December 2015. Tenants who blocked redevelopment of Machinery Row, blocked, as though there was some intentional thing on their part.
So how much did they
vacated
vacated larger building?
Yeah.
I mean, it was
all the tenants' fault.
Oh, yeah, and the funny thing is,
they had referenced it earlier in September.
Yeah, well, it's why is it this happening?
Project stymied by overstaying tenant Miracle Products,
during
luminous storage merchandise.
Here, listen to me. During this period of time, there was multiple articles talking about Corey Mason saying, I've got faith in this project. Robin Voss, it's, you know, sometimes it takes longer for some of this to happen, and we've got to be diligent, and he's just doing a great job of, you know, making sure that everything is falling into place. Hell, falling into place, there was nothing to fall.
Well, that was bipartisan cooperation.
Yeah, it was, so this is where I'm saying, you know, now we're going to get to the emails, but
Republican.
Now, 3 months later, the city of Racine declares Blackwell as in default on the $4.5 million loan. That doesn't mean they take it back yet.
No, they can't do that.
No, because now
once they take it back, he's no longer the straw man. He's out of the
Exactly.
picture. All right?
Exactly.
As long as he needs
So
somebody
they
up there
say,
putting up
because
this
the
show.
pressure's on him, because
Yep.
Sandy now had kind of busted this out, and now the pressure's on.
And she wasn't even really trying to. She was just asking questions, you know, to defend the interest
She had
of
been
her
asking these
constituents.
questions all along, like anybody who really looked at this stuff. And most, I saw taxpayers asking questions at the Common Council. You know, what's going on? What's going on? But they got fed. They were force-fed that information so well that these aldermen would just do whatever you're told, and just pitch the
Well,
line
you know,
that was
and,
told
and,
to them.
and a lot of the things that got cut out of it, because for time's sake on these little clips, is Sandy saying to the council, you know, we have to be in charge of this,
Right.
And we're getting this wool pulled over our eyes, so to speak, and that's what a lot of her concern is in this thing. It's not, you know, she's just saying, hey, this is what's going on, and we as council members should know about it.
Which comes now. They declared Rodney Blackwell in default, December of 2016. 2 years after, roughly 2 years after he announced he was going to do this big development. Dickert now is going to resign. March 27th, 2017, he announces that he's going to work for the Great Lakes Consortium of some sort.
Yeah. Cities in the same.
And you
Lawrence
think that
Freeway.
maybe wasn't the real reason? It wasn't this great thing?
Well, who walks in right directly
Good one,
behind
George.
him? That's a leader. Pitch this to you. So
Oh my God!
Mason walks in right
It's an
behind
amazing
him.
tale here. Wait, go
He
ahead.
just happened to be walking down the hallway when Dickert
I'm
was
just going to play a
resigning.
real quick clip.
Yeah.
Hey, there is somebody here that would like to say a few words. So, State Representative Corey Mason.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you to John Dickert for his service and tenure as mayor of the city of Racine. I'm here today to announce that I intend to run for mayor when the vacancy opens up this summer. I love this city. I've lived here almost all my life. I've had the honor of serving this community in the state legislature for 11 years now.
Purely coincidental. I mean, it's obvious.
But what else happened that same day is his $9 million in tax credits was lost. Madison had basically pulled them back. Now, we're not talking about... Now, you have to remember, this was bipartisan getting these tax credits. And who does the yanking them is Weatherstone. a
Tom
Republican.
Weatherston, yeah.
From-
The Republican.
Yeah.
Caledonia.
I mean, he was I guess, low man on the totem pole, let's put it that way. Where's Robin Voss? Where are all the Republicans that were up there when it's bipartisan, we're going to give all these tax credits, and we're all, going to stand up there and announce this development? Nobody was there. It's quietly taken back by Weatherston. But at the same time, Dickert is, I want to say, probably asked to leave, because now the stink is rising from Racine and heading up to Madison. That's the way I look at it.
And you think the pressure was coming on Dickert?
Absolutely. This guy is a politician from start to finish. He's not going to sit in some water consortium somewhere, even though it's probably detrimental to the citizens of the whole multiple state now.
Oh yeah, that's it could
we
potentially
can
a
get into
powerful position.
Yes, but
Now, do these forces in Madison that are doing this? Are they bringing in Corey Mason too?
well, here's George. Now, in April, a criminal complaint is filed by a guy named Dennis Monte. We actually had him on a show when he did it.
Yeah.
And he's asking for an investigation into Machinery Row. He sees it. He understands it. He's asking the Racine County Sheriff's Department, and I even know the number, 1700217 is the complaint number.
Well, that's been since April of 2017.
And
Certainly
nothing has been done.
has been done.
Nothing. has been
A
done.
criminal complaint.
To the
and
DA, Patricia Hansen, and to the sheriff, Christopher Schmeling.
Yeah.
Nothing has been done. Why isn't this taken out of Racine County and taken to Kenosha, Walworth, wherever? Actually, I believe Dennis Monty took it to Walworth County, and they said, well, it has to have jurisdiction, has to be asked from your jurisdiction. They won't ask. And so what I'm saying is there's more going on here. Now, this complaint also was filed with the Attorney General, Brad Schimmel. Again, nothing's happened. They're covering it up. There's no doubt about it. I mean, if you make a criminal complaint and you can't find any information on it, and I even called, and it's been covered up.
Yeah, they're not even looking into it.
No.
That's the
So-
obvious.
Now, who's? Oh, yeah, the local people
Local,
aren't
yeah.
looking into it, right? Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, no, but nobody in the in law enforcement is looking
No,
into it.
no,
No part of the
no,
judicial
no,
system.
No, I always say they'll pick up some kid with a bag of marijuana in a corner, run him through the system, and drag him around nonstop. But a machinery row, we don't know anything, we don't see anything, and of course nobody's screaming at the Common Council. They can't even figure it out.
Yeah.
On June 9th, this is where the Wisconsin Department of Administration sent a letter to the city of Racine saying that the tenants on Machinery Row should be compensated and relocated, and that they advised them that the displaced persons had the right to pursue legal action.
Now, this was in response to a complaint by Patrick Fagan, who
Right.
we've also had on the show.
Right.
And we've shown all of the equipment that he had to move out of Machinery Row, or what was going to be Machinery Row, put it in storage, etc., and he's never received he's gotten some small amounts from this.
And I want to get Patrick on the show because Patrick has some very damning audio tapes.
Oh, yeah.
Extremely damning.
The bottom line is that even though all this charade is going on, who's overseeing the relocation costs? Which agency is that?
The city of Racine, the legal department.
No. I mean,
Somebody
from the
some
state.
outfit named Terra Venture.
the state.
It's a private
No,
Terra
the
Venture.
state
Oversees it, but the city has hired a outside contractor to help with the relocation of the tenants.
Right, but and they're trying to. These people that you're talking about, local people, are trying to make it look like this is just a private sale. In other words, if you sell something to me, and I want all the tenants out before I buy it, there's no relocation cost.
Right.
But if I am getting government money for my project and I want them out before I buy it, now relocation costs come in.
Yeah, they're trying to portray it as a non-public project.
And who is the state that? What state agency?
Department of Administration.
Department of Administration looks at that. So, despite all the charade that we've been talking about, the Department of Administration in Wisconsin isn't impressed with it. They're going right to the bottom of the line and saying, this straw man, they're not using the word straw man, but all this stuff does not negate the fact that these people get relocation costs because there is government money eventually involved in it.
But again,
it's that simple, right?
It's that simple. But again, you have the legal department, which is also sequestering Sandy Widener's emails, and the secret court is also handling the relocation. So there's an awful lot of cover-up going on here. And I might just add that one of the attorneys in the Nicole Larson, who is the assistant city attorney, just put in her resignation.
She was the one that said if Patrick Fagan wants money, come to us. We'll answer it. You don't have to go to court to get it.
Right.
She's gone.
She's gone.
Yep.
She's gone.
They got to fight it all the
and
way
of
down.
course, now you're tearing down Machinery Row. Now let's cover that up and call it something else. And how much is that going to cost the taxpayer?
Yeah, what is it now? Riverfront Development or some BS they're calling it?
Right, I guess.
Yeah. Give it a new name.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go on before the show ends, but now this is one of the things that.
Oh, this is not going to end. We're going to talk about this for hours.
Now, in September of 2017, the Walker administration, it says, this is out of the Milwaukee Business Journal, developers shocked, angered by decision to cut program from $5 million to $500,000 for project. Walker vetoes historic preservation tax credit program, threatens dozens of projects. Why would Scott Walker, just completely wipe out the historic tax credits in the state of Wisconsin? because of the stink out of Racine is what happened.
Yeah.
Because this thing goes all the way back to Madison.
The entire budget for the year, the proper year, the appropriate
But the thing
year.
is,
You think Walker at that
budget
point
was
just said,
earmarked
that's
for
enough?
For Racine.
Well,
all the whole state tax
think about
credit
it,
went down to
George.
Racine, and Walker said, that's enough, we're canceling it.
bipartisan in
because you
Racine.
guys screwed it up.
They know there was a scam there, and I'm just going to throw it to Republicans. There's absolutely no way that they did not know this
It was a
scam was going on.
bipartisan scam.
So you've got the Democrats and the Republicans working together now. Now it comes back to Walker. I'm not going to get any of this on me. I'm going to kill the whole program, including programs that were probably legitimate in other parts of the state.
Well, he was
Why
worried he
would
might
you
not.
do
He was worried he might not get reelected.
Well, this would have been
Oops.
definitely one. And there's no doubt. I was told that it went to the Department of Justice. This never went to the Department of Justice, this case. It was Attorney General. Never went to the Attorney General. Locally, it's never moved an inch. How does it that the Democrats and the Republicans all know about it, but nothing's happening? I mean, this is a major, fraudulent, from the beginning, scam on the taxpayers, and it just wants to go away.
Well, it's what
They
you would,
want it to go away.
You
And
would call
what
this a-
happened here
Yeah.
was Alderman Widener runs for mayor.
Yeah.
Yep. In the middle of all this, Sandy decides to run for mayor.
So in July,
And yeah, and that gets really good. And then in retaliation to that,
well,
the
now
city
what? Yeah.
decides to put her to the ethics. In retaliation to that, Sandy starts to talk more about it.
Yeah. So here we are.
So on July 29, 2017, Alderman Sandy Weiner announces a run for mayor. August 18th, states on the campaign trail. She's on the campaign trail now, and says the city administrator, city administration,
yeah.
meaning attorneys, probably administrator, is monitoring
Possibly
her
the
emails.
mayor, yeah.
Now I want to play this. I want to play
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Now,
we got
this is
it.
very good, and I don't think anybody's got this, but I'm going to play this, and we'll go from there.
Paul, the other thing that I think people need to be aware of and even be alarmed about, I've suspected for a long time that the city attorney was monitoring my city email account. And I'm an open book, so it doesn't bother me at all. Well, yesterday I got verification that he has done that. I had gotten an email letter from Rebecca Mason, who is now our municipal judge, regarding an issue, and that letter was to me, and it was in the form of email. I forwarded a copy of that email to someone who had asked me about it, which I have every right to do. Well, yesterday the city attorney brought to my attention that he was aware that on such and such a date that I forwarded XYZ email to such and such a person. And my position is, so what? I'm an open book. This is not private information in my email. So today we get an email that we're going to have an executive committee meeting to determine if the ethics board should investigate an official for providing official business that they received because they were an official, something to that effect. What it is, I talked a little bit about the firewall. That's the ice bucket. That's the bucket of ice water that they're trying to silence me. And I'm not trying to alarm anybody or, boo-hoo me. I just want you to know what kind of environment we have right now in City Hall and what needs to get fixed. That aldermen should not be under the threat of the administration monitoring their emails, giving them false information.
When she brought that up, now obviously they were monitoring her emails at that time. She knows it.
Yeah.
She sent out, and she talks about a letter that she had gotten from Rebecca Mason, who was a municipal judge, and how that was sent to her. She sent it out, and then of course they said, well, you can't send it. That is a whole other story. Well, then at some point we'll get to that.
But it's a big part of this whole sealed case
Absolutely.
scenario.
Oh, yeah.
And who she was sending to? I think she sent some to you. I know I got some.
Yeah.
So it was like,
I mean, you ask for stuff, what happened here,
Yeah.
what happened there. I mean, people ask.
Well, it's
Constituents.
city business, and an alderman has a responsibility to respond to the
Absolutely.
constituents.
Absolutely. But she then goes on to 4 days later, she's called into the executive committee called by the city attorney. Now, you have to remember.
Well, everybody was called into it. It was like, hey, we're having a meeting. Come on down. We're going to be meeting at such and such a place at such and such a time.
Mandatory meeting.
Right.
So on August 18th, she's at Pierce Woods.
Right.
Makes a statement. 4 days later, August 22nd, the executive meeting is called on emails that Sandy referred to as Sandy Widener.
Right.
But if it was, she wasn't told. Nobody was told ahead of time that she was going to be the person in the hot seat.
Oh, yeah.
That didn't happen until she actually got at the meeting.
She got there.
Until everybody got to the
here's
meeting.
the other thing. The aldermen there voted to send her to the ethics committee. That's how. I mean, I don't call it.
That's how brain dead they are.
They are totally brain dead. I mean, talk about the blind mice. I mean, they're there and they vote to, oh, we should have this examined. I mean, they get led down it. This is why your city's in the condition it's in. There's absolutely no leadership. But she then loses the election. She wins in the primary. She comes in second. They have a runoff for mayor in October. She then loses to Corey Mason. Now let's just take one step back to this. John Dickert, Corey Mason, back in March. What are we going to do with Sandy Widener? Because at that point, Sandy Widener had all busted him out, sent emails. There was a lot of documentation. If there was an investigation, there was plenty there. There was all that was already put out there by Sandy. What are we going to do with Sandy? Sandy announces for mayor.
So you're speculating that there may have been a conversation.
I almost can guarantee it. This whole ethics thing was set up by those two. Now, maybe even more. But how does an attorney who is an employee of the city go to the level of hiring? Now, Sandy wants those emails.
Hiring an outside attorney.
How do you hire an outside attorney?
No, that's the part. That's the leap of faith there.
Without going to the council for approval for the expenditure.
Or
right, just on his own, he decides he's going to run this investigation, and there's no political motive from above, from Dickert.
Right.
That's a little tough, and for him to do it on his own with no backing from the mayor saying, "Go ahead, I'll cover your back" or anything like that.
Widener is talking about things that are going on in government that citizens have every right to know, and he stands by while the bus runs over her. And Scott Letney, the city attorney, is driving the bus.
Yeah, I can't buy that. Corey Mason, the mayor, has got to be involved with it. They share the same absolutely. Office area. There can't be just no communication, and for Scott Letney to just start spending this money on a relatively simple case, it was just an open records thing. All I wanted some email. I wanted the emails that we already saw.
Right.
Yeah. I just want copies of them because I don't have But I didn't know this was going to be about me. I didn't make records of this. And for Scott Letney to be doing this without any collusion from the mayor,
no, it ain't.
Exactly. It's not. This is too political.
Unreasonable.
This is
Other thing. Now we go to court. Now she's saying, "Hey, I want those emails that you
intend to prosecute me with."
Right, exactly, yes. And I have a right to have those. And we're not going to give them to you. So she files what they call a mandamus on December the 5th. It goes to court. The city attorney hires an outside counsel to represent the city attorney and himself but it goes to court. It goes in front of a judge. The judge seals the case.
Has he ever done that before?
No.
Never done that before.
Well, that's what he said in the paper. He said this was the first time for him.
How do you seal a case of open records?
Well, that's what caused it to explode across the country.
Exactly.
An open records request gets sealed. It's bad enough you have to go to court to get the records.
Yeah.
They were supposed to, by law, they're supposed to just give it to you. That's what the law. So when they don't, you have to take them to court, and then the judge seals that.
Yeah, it's pretty. Incredible.
That was.
I mean, it's an incredible case.
I think he got fed a load.
Well, I think
from Scott Letney. I mean, Scott Letney was the one that requested it.
In my opinion, the judge was basically acting as an advocate for one of the parties to this particular action, and that particular party was the city attorney, and the attorney that he hired out of Milwaukee. He was giving complete deference to them. He was acting basically as their agent.
Well, he did that,
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, how else could you have done it? He's a city attorney. He must be doing the right thing, and I'm
right.
also a judge. So we're going to and this older woman, she's just a problem in this community, and that's how she's.
We'll just seal it, and that'll be the end of it.
Right, it'll go away. Well, it's,
how'd that work out, Judge? Not too good.
Okay.
I think Corey Mason, personally, I think he's up to his eyeballs in this Machinery Row.
Yeah.
And I
And
believe
secrecy. That's my
absolutely.
concern. At this is
No, this thing
because
was
that's the real core of oppressive government is being secret.
Exactly.
No tyranny can exist in the light of day. The shade's got to be pulled down, the door's got to be closed, and now the tyranny can operate and oppress people. But and then that's why the Freedom of Information Act was passed at the federal level, because so much had been going on and secrecy, the FBI and Herbert Hoover and all that type of junk. So now we're finding out the importance of open government.
Yep.
And here we got secrecy right in the heart of Racine, and we wonder why we're having problems. And
So that pretty much.
Just one thing. I'm going to leave. I'm going to put a video up that we'll say goodbye,
Okay.
and then I'm going to put a campaign video up that Alderman Weiner had out. And
that tells the story.
It tells the story, and why do we want to keep her quiet? Well, this will show you.
There's other problems in this community that need to be discussed. We've spent an awful lot of time on Machinery Row, and at some point in time, we're going to be back at it. But this is also very, very, very much about the Sandy Widener case and the repression of her voice. So we know that that's going to come up again. But next week we're going to talk about something else, and it'll be interesting to you, and it'll probably shock and amaze you just like it has done to us. So please come back next week, and we'll talk about that, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks for being here.
Hello, my name is Sandy Widener. There is an important issue that I think the public needs to entirely understand regarding Machinery Row. In June of 2014, then Mayor John Dickert, City Administrator Tom Friedel, State Representative Corey Mason had a press release announcing this huge development that was going to take place along the riverfront in the city of Racine in what is now known as Machinery Row. In that announcement, Rodney Blackwell announced that he was going to purchase properties for a redevelopment that would be commercial and residential, and it would be a private and a public endeavor for this development. However, there was never any private money put into this development. All of the investment is public dollars, and those public dollars are an investment to achieve more public dollars for this development. By September of 2014, having done his due diligence, Rodney Blackwell determined that he could not move forward with this project. Fast forward from July until the first week in December, we had heard nothing. So when we convened in the executive committee last week to hear about the revised plans for the development, we're not hearing so much about a private-public endeavor. We're hearing about a public endeavor. That didn't mean the city of Racine did not want to have that property, though, because after all, it's along the water, it's along the river. So the city of Racine, under the leadership of John Dickert and Tom Friedel, convinced Rodney Blackwell to stay in the game. And they did that with enticing him with a 10% development fee that would be provided to him out of money we were loaning him for the purchase of those properties. So we, the council, were told that the properties that he wanted to purchase cost $4.5 million, when in all actuality, the real purchase price was only $4,050,000. So from that $4.5 million, he, Rodney Blackwell, received a kickback in the form of this loan that went into a development account called an escrow account. Mr. Blackwell borrowed money from the city of Racine, cut a different deal with the sellers of the property, set up an escrow account for him to draw money out of over the last year and a half. I had no idea that I should even have asked the question of the administration if something like this would have happened. When this came to light, This is where, you know, the city administrator kept saying to us, the council, well, he's paying his interest payments. He paid his interest payments with money that he took from the sellers that he renegotiated after we loaned him the $4.5 million. So in essence, we are paying that because we loaned him that money. From that account, he could dip into at his own will to take out what he considers to be development costs. So the enticement for Rodney Blackwell to stay in this was the $450,000 account that he depleted in less than a year and a half. So the Common Council, having no idea that Rodney Blackwell wanted out of this before this development even got off the ground, continued to give extension. I want us to have our eyes wide open about what kind of a developer we're giving another extension to. He didn't even have the respect for this city or this administration that negotiated with him or this council to come before us within that first 4 months when his extension had expired. And I just want you to know that I voted against loaning him the money in December of 2014 because it just didn't feel right. Something did not, he had nothing invested in this project. And we were aware of that. But we continued to plunge forward believing that the administration was giving us accurate information, which ultimately turned out to be incorrect. The council was given bad information and were basically lied to.